And now we are live. So,
Dun, dun, dun.
dun, dun, dun. Thank you everybody for coming out today. It is an amazing day, and we are here with five amazing people, including myself, six. For the artist angle, we are going to have a conversation today with several artists who are in the field that are visual creators. They vary in their fields, but I'll allow them to explain that. But we're going to touch on a few things that concern us as artists and things we've experienced and possible solutions that we've come up with as we've experienced them. So, as we move along, I want everybody to give an introduction. We are going to start with how I see it on my screen with Rennie. Can you give an introduction? Let everybody know who you are, what you do.
My name is Brittany Lewis, and jack of all trades, master of a couple. I've been a DJ 24 years. I have a background in visual design. Uh, I build things with my hands. I paint things with my hands. I paint things on a computer. If it's art and electronic, it's my thing. I also launched an art festival 3 years ago called Create Period. We've showcased Will Focus and his amazing work amongst a ton of other artists. We have games that allow you to create artwork while you're playing it and everything else. I currently make abstracts, and I just opened a home decor shop and store this year. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is amazing. So, we're going to touch on what everybody does afterwards again, and we're going to move to the next person. We're going to touch on Brittany, if you don't mind. Let everybody know who you are and what it is that you do.
Right on. So my name is Brittany Lewis. I'm an artist in Memphis, Tennessee. I am currently primarily a digital artist. I also work in acrylics as a portrait artist. Right now, I'm working on a book and sort of trying to bridge the gap between visual representation of African deities and the rest of the world. So that's who I am right now.
Okay. I like the whole African deities part. That was dope. Now we're going to move over
Word.
to later. Let us know what's going on. Look, I caught you off guard. You got a little spinach going on over there. You got some packages eating, got caught off guard. Let's go.
Uh, my name is Laveda O'Neill. I'm a graphic artist. I work primarily with illustrations, creating characters, even visual backgrounds. I have a website. It's leoneilart.com. You can see everything there. And yeah.
All right.
Short and simple.
Perfect.
Short, sweet.
Next, we're going to move over to Rachel. If you could let everybody know who you are and what it is that you do. What it is that you do. I'm sorry. Look, my words got jumbled. What it is that you do. Go on.
Hi, my name is Rachel. I live in Chicago. I'm a mother of two. I'm a full-time artist, oil painter, and children's book illustrator.
And if you couldn't tell, that is her artwork in the background. You see that. But we're not going to talk about it. We're going to get to that. So we're going to move on to Sir Micah. If you could let everybody know who you are and what it is that you do.
Absolutely. My name is Micah Blacklight. I am an artist, illustrator, author, graphic designer, empowerment coach, motivational speaker. Jesus, I might have missed some, but those are the main ones. I work in digital art, traditional art. One of my mains in traditional is ballpoint pen. That's like, I freaking eat that. But digital, I'm all over the map. And then, yeah, there we go. So I do a lot. And I got coloring books and t-shirts and blah, blah, blah. But art, period. I'm a creator all the way through. And inspiration is my thing. So that's what I do.
That's awesome. See, I like that. That was, see, swift, sweet, to the point. Everybody got everything across. So I want to start with one of the questions that I have for
All right, but hold
everybody.
up though. I'm gonna pause you real quick.
Go ahead.
We'll focus. Who is you, bruh?
Who is me? I is.
You know, he tried to weasel out of that.
I did. I tried
Like,
to
you see that?
You did.
because I'm only supposed to be in a hosting capacity. This isn't about me.
Bullshit.
But okay.
No, it's
So-
about all us.
My name is Will Focus. One Will Focus on all social media, and my website, theonewillfocus.com. I am a illustrator and graphic designer. I focus in branding and identity, and that is what my primary focus is currently. Thank you, Micah. I should have known you would be the one to do that. You're like, hold on. What do you do? So let me ask everybody, are you full-time with what it is that you do currently? Is this a full-time thing? And anybody can jump in and contribute.
I'm full-time as an artist, but I also have to like balance that with, parenthood and being a wife and all of that. But yeah, it's what I do all day, every day.
Okay. Anybody else? Full-time?
I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody not full-time with this?
I'm not. I still get up and punch the clock in a different art form. I'm a video producer or editor rather, and camera operator by day. Although I would love to transition out of that and be a full-time working artist.
Mm.
So let's touch on that, because I
Right.
feel like if we are all, including myself, full-time doing this, and Rennie does it for the most part, except in addition to punching the clock for another visual job. What was your transition into full-time artistry? I want to see how you went and became a full-time artist. What did that look like for you? Anybody can jump in.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll go first. I'll go first. And the reason is because I was like full-time, not even full-time, but like my job was, I worked at Polo, Ralph Lauren, in the graphics department, men's first and then women's graphics department. And I met my lady, and I was doing art, and I was doing stuff on the side, and I was like, I first started, whatever, I was doing stuff. And she was already, full-time with her art. And she was like, it's gonna come a point when you're gonna, the money you make from your art is gonna be just enough, right? So you're gonna need more time to put into the art. And if you don't put that time in, like, you're gonna have to choose between the job and the art, or it's always gonna be like boom, boom. So there's gonna be a point when it's gonna be, you're gonna make it just enough, or you're gonna be like, if I put more time in, I'd make more. And it's gonna pull you. And so you're gonna have to choose. And when she said that, I immediately was just like, I'm just gonna jump. So I'm gonna set a date. So I had a job, like I said, and I just said, the next time we move, when our lease comes up, it's coming up in a year. The next time we move, I'm quitting my job. So I just set the time, and then I just went to work. Like, what would I need to do? What kind of savings would I need to make? What kind of things would I need to put in place to leap out? And it was scary as all hell, but I did it. And then I went through the roller coaster ride that is freelance life. And we still here. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you for that. Anybody else want to jump in and add theirs to that as well?
Okay, so for me, mine sort of came by default. So I worked as a graphic designer for the airport here in Memphis, and I got pregnant and I had my baby, and I stayed at home. And it actually took me a while to jump off into doing it full time. It was just something I did, something that was second nature. And it just kind of got to a point where I was like, well, okay, let me try this convention. Or I get contacted by somebody who's like, hey, I got a portrait of my grandma I want. And it just sort of went from there. So I'm like, Michael, it's definitely a roller coaster, to say the least. But that's how it happened for me by default.
Okay, so you sound like you kind of, through the fact of motherhood, ended up saying, look, I'm at home, I need to, in addition, do
right,
this
yeah.
as well. That's what's up.
Rachel,
now
it looked like you was about to jump.
Me?
Were you? Yeah, it seemed like you was just about to say something.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like Brittany, I was pregnant, and so I was already at home, and so I was like, I need something to kind of fill my time in, and it kind of just went from there. But I went back to work after I was pregnant, and so it kind of just, at the time, was just, kind of filling in here and there while I was at work. And then I decided to leave work again, but not because, any pregnancy or anything. It's just because I feel like I could go full throttle with my art and it can make its own money from there. So I just decided to leave.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like everybody kind of circumstantially almost ended up into it. Leveda, how about you?
I suppose it's more of it was a long transition.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't quite happen like that. Because I pretty much have been doing art, for a long time. And I've just been trying to figure out in the beginning of when I started doing digital, I was trying to figure out what I really wanted to do specifically, because there's so many variations, job fields in the visual department. So it was like, well, how, what is it? Like, what are those different things that I've never been completely exposed to that I wanted to do? And I guess after I got settled into doing digital, I had to kind of figure out my style, and that was a bigger part for me. So now it's like, all I want to do is do comics and covers and characters, all that stuff.
I think, and I'll jump in before I ask something further of Rennie. For me, I kind of fell headfirst into it. I was freelancing while at work. I hated the job I was at. I was working in Midtown. And while working in Midtown Manhattan, I got hooked with a design agency. And so they were asking me to, do freelance projects. And because I couldn't stand the job I was at, I went and installed Adobe Creative Suite on the computer. And I just started doing freelance work while I was actually at work. And I never forget.
Wow.
Hey, it happens. Listen, it happens. I'll never
Whatever
forget.
Works. Not mad at it.
What ended up happening was the manager that was there, I butted heads with the manager so much that I was like, I'm quitting. And I had really no full plan. Another guy came and offered me a job that was significantly less, doing graphic design though, than what I was doing when I was in Manhattan. I was at a hedge fund. And I was like, I just hate being here. I'll accept it. And I quit on my BlackBerry. I just was like 2 days notice, came in, signed papers, and was like, I'm out. The next week I was working with the other guy whose company went under in 3 weeks.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it was. And then when that happened, it was like sink or swim. So I had to jump head first into it. And that was in 2008. And I've been doing it ever since then, fresh out of the water, gasping for air.
Sounding the universe was like, let's set him up real quick.
Oh no, it was definitely a setup. It was set up so bad. Let me tell you how bad this setup was before I move on. I had to take the guy to court because he didn't pay me for a week's worth of work that I was supposed to get. It was that bad. And I was just like, all right, I can't do this anymore. And then, here we are. Que sera, sera. So,
and that's 2008. So congratulations.
Yeah, that was 2008. That was during the whole housing market thing. It was a lot. So Rennie, we're gonna jump to you. What do you feel is keeping you? What do you feel is keeping you from taking the leap and going to 100% full time? What you want to do?
Good question.
I mean, in all fairness, I was a full-time DJ up until 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, so I'm gonna buy a house and I need to be more stable. So I got a day job. And then it was like, I'm kind of comfortable. I like this. Check every 2 weeks. You ain't really gotta do much. They gotta go nowhere, talk to nobody. I ain't got to be up at 4 a.m. no more. I don't know. And so I think really what's keeping me from ultimately sitting upside down in HR's office at 8 a.m. in the morning telling them I quit is I don't actually hate my boss. So there's that. I'm working remote at home now, so I can pretty much do whatever I want.
Mhm.
So I can take their money and my money at the same time. So I'm not gonna argue with nobody. And I haven't exactly figured out how to replace the income from my job or surpass it with what I intend to sell as art.
Okay.
I know I can. I just haven't navigated that minefield, and I would prefer not to blow up my life just because like I'm bored and I just feel like making a change. I'd rather at least be like, okay, I can supplement 85 to 100% of the income and then leave my job and still have the same income before I'm just like, I'm just bored. Let's just do something different. If I make enough money doing photography and DJing and editing and that on the side where I don't necessarily need to quit my job. So that's really it. And I'm trying to figure it out now. Like I'm working with a marketing person and I'm trying to get it together to the point where I can realistically sell or make what I need in the course of a calendar year to replace my day job. But right now, you know, I'm not making even a tenth of that in artwork. So I need to build that up before I decide to get spicy with myself and like, hey, you know, I'm the king of the hill. Like, I'm out. I'm out. And then my mortgage company calls me like, so we gonna need the crib back though.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants that problem. Nobody wants that problem.
Where homeowner problems is different.
Yeah, it definitely different, especially when you know what it is, I think as well, and maybe you guys can touch on this. How, I guess, how important have personal things in your life been in terms of how they've affected how you approach this from a business perspective, i.e., owning a home or having kids or having a significant other or certain responsibilities? Like, how much has that contributed to how you approach your art?
I can jump if ain't nobody jumping. Mine was actually kind of the opposite because my lady, when I met her, she was already selling her art. She was already working as an artist, you know, and her bread and butter business is website design and all that stuff. But she had already done, you know, she had local shows and she had, you know, she had sold her shit for some numbers that I was like, oh. So for me, you know what I'm saying? For me, seeing, you know, having her be like, you're gonna have to take a choice, you're gonna have to make a choice, you're gonna have to jump. For me, it spoke to me because I'm looking at somebody who's done it, who's doing it already. You know what I mean? And I was just like, yo, let's go. Like I'm okay. I'm, you know, what? And I didn't realize how much work I was gonna have to put in at the time. I was just like, we're gonna do this. And then it wasn't until later, it was just like, oh, wait, if I ain't had no plan, because I didn't, right? Like I put together a plan for what I would need for a chunk of time. And then I figured that after that chunk of time, I'd figure out something else. And that's not, I wouldn't recommend that for anybody, period, to have a plan. You know what I'm saying? If you got a job, you know, that's paying you good, whatever, unless you hate it. If you hate it, then figure it out and get out, right? But I didn't hate my job. I'm like Rennie, like I didn't hate my job. I liked the people who I was working with. It was actually a really damn good job, but I was like, I need to do this art. And so having a plan having a longer term plan would have definitely aided me in the long term. However, the personal aspect was I had already seen somebody do it. I was with somebody who was doing it, who was doing it currently. And I was just like, yo, I can do this too. Let's go. So that's how it influenced me.
Oh, that's awesome. So I actually want to ask somebody specific. I want to ask Rachel, for you, for your, as a mother, for
Yes.
those who may not know, um, how has motherhood affected you and your art, whether from personal or business perspective?
Okay, so with my first son, I was just starting to learn art and trying to get back into the grooves of art. And, at the time, he was right there with me. And I'm like sitting here at the desk because at the time I was using digital art. So I was learning that. And so he was right there with me. I'm learning and I'm trying to catch up. But, as time go on, he's doing his own thing. He's starting to go to school and I can have more free time to work on my art, work on commissions like portraits and things like that and books. And so now that I have my second son, it kind of killed my progression. I don't want to say progression, but it just kind of I had to stop, to take care of my son. So I wasn't really doing too many jobs or commissions, and it kind of took more of a personal hit on me because I felt like I was supposed to be working. I was like, okay, I think the first time with my first one, I can do it again. But that was a hard pill to swallow, to be like sitting there in bed and I'm just like, okay, wanted to do art, but I can't. So that was that. But jobs still came through. I worked when I can. But most of the time, most of the clients were understanding. And so I was able to work at my own pace. But now he's older now. He's a little over one, and he's starting to do his own thing. So now I can kind of get back to my art and, spend a little longer with it and get things done. But, also my husband, he takes on some of the other work. Like he's, even though sometimes art is not always, I don't want to say art, but my jobs, my clients and commissions, they'll be a lot in one month and then they'll fall down into another month. And so he kind of picks up that because he has more of a steady job than I do.
Yeah, I
So
have the same situation. Very exact same. So you
yeah,
don't have to worry so much about it business wise. Kind of gives you the freedom to,
yeah. So that it takes a lot of that burden off of me, and he kind of supplements where it needs to be. So it's I'm glad that it's this way because I couldn't, I could not run this whole place by myself.
So, does anybody else want to add to that? Any other
yeah. So
parents?
I'm in a very similar situation where my husband is, I guess, for the lack of a better term, the breadwinner in our home. But right now, and going back to what Micah said, right now we're in the spot where we're trying to plan for him to get out of that. Like I don't want him to work. I don't think he enjoys it. And so this year has been a lot about figuring that out. And this project that I'm currently working on is one I've been planning for years. And so now we're at the okay, let's hustle because we both want to be at home. Like I want to give him the same opportunity that he gave me to explore the things that he loves to do. So it's interesting to navigate. It's very interesting, especially this year because a lot of the clients from my personal business have dried up, and so I'm having to be very creative in how I market myself, the types of services that I do. If I'm doing services that I already do, I say, okay, well, let's not worry about that. Let me focus on this because that's the long game. Let's play that long game as opposed to, trying to get clients in. So that's where I am now.
Real quick, jump in. It's very different as an artist, depending on if you have a parent and a child or several children. It's very different navigating the art landscape based on your partner's understanding of your partner's lack of understanding, your partner's feel for how much importance they put on your work, how much importance they put on your passion, how much support they're willing to give in terms of kids, in terms of whatever, you know what I mean? And like that can seriously impact people's art careers and the way that they navigate things. You know, for some people, like me and my lady, we have a 7-year-old, and we, since her birth, have been like, because both of us are, you know, the rare, whatever, maybe less rare now since COVID or whatever, we're both artists, right? So neither one of us had a 9-to-5, so we both home. And we just created a system from like beginning where we take shifts. You know what I mean? Which I'll have her for a little bit, she'll have her for a little bit, and you know, the shifts came, you know, when she was younger, obviously there's like, you know, you got the magical breast, so there's that, right? With the milk and all these things. But then, you know, after that, like it became a thing where, and it's been since then, like, you know, she's 7 now, we still doing it, where it's just like, this is your shift, this is my shift. And so I'm able to get work, and simultaneously I have our daughter, and neither one of us feels overwhelmed. And as a result of that, we're able to do things that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise, because children it's a lot of energy. It's a lot, you know what I mean? So that, I just wanted to add that, like, in terms of, if you can create something with your partners, if your partners are supportive, if your partner, you know, you can ask. For those watching, you may think that you can't do certain things the minute you have a child, like everything just ceases, you know, crashes to a halt. And there's obviously some things that are going to slow down regardless, like children, that's just one of those things. But depending on what kind of relationship you have with your partner, what you ask for, what they're willing to give, what y'all's, you know, specifics, financial and everything else situation is, you might be able to work out something where there's a little bit more leeway than you may think. Just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Actually, I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in and add to that. If you do, let me know. I just launched another poll as well. If you guys want to take part in that poll, you'll see it there. But the purpose of me launching that poll is it almost directly ties into what Micah just spoke on. So I want to talk about clients. And as a visual artist, we all know we need clients in order to make money. So I guess the first question would be to you guys, do you currently have the number of clients you would like? Or would you like more? I know some people might be like, you know, we could always have more, like more is always awesome. But you know, from a realistic perspective, like when you think about it and you sit back and you say, okay, I'm making money from my craft, do you have the preferred amount of clients that you would like? And if not, what would you prefer? If you have a number or something you want to put on it, anybody can jump in.
So I think for me, am I sounding all right?
Yeah, you sound okay.
Okay, great. Switch mics. Okay, so for me, early this year, I would have said no, because, you know, everything was happening in the world, and my clients were like drying up left and right. Matter of fact, I had to chase down my very last client for my last deposit. But as the year has progressed, I would say yes, because it's giving me the time to focus on this next year's plan. Like I'm happy with. As a matter of fact, I've had to turn people away because of this project that I'm working on, and I'm completely comfortable with that. You know, I don't mind it. Right now, I don't mind it. Now, next year, it might be something else, but right now, we're good. We're good.
That's good. That's good. Perfect. Perfect. Anybody else want to jump in on the clients?
I will.
Go ahead.
I think right now I have the right number of clients right now, because sometimes I'll take on too many and then I find myself stressed out over, you know, due dates like that. So right now I am good and set. I'm happy.
That's awesome. I know me really personally. Awesome. I have a habit of not saying no. I say no when I need to say no, but I'm also like, well, if I don't have to say no,
yeah,
and I do.
You had how much money?
Right.
And then I'm like, all right, give me all the clients, and then I'm like overwhelmed because I look at the to-do list that I have, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get this to this person by this time, and this person by this time. And at the same time that I have a set list, I have random people who just like, hey, can you do this? Is this possible? Or repeat clients who come in who already trust what it is that I do. Right. And they're like, yeah, I need this by this date. And they know I'm going to get it to them. And now it's like, Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know if I should have agreed to this. Anybody else experience that or go through that?
All the
I do.
time.
Yeah.
Yes and no,
somebody
though.
else's
Yes and no. But
experience,
hold
go
on,
ahead.
because I'm a talker, you know what I'm saying? So I want to hear from Levada too, though. You know what I mean? Because I got some stuff to say. But first, Levada, what you got? I want to hear from you. What's going on?
As far as like clients, I find that I don't tend to take on too many. I think that's because like usually I take on really big projects. So I don't typically, if I have someone come in, I'm like, I'm not available. So I don't try to take on too much. But, and then when I'm completely open for, you know, like I'm just completely open, there are no big projects. I can take on as much work as I can. Like this month, I was advertising for clients, or I am actively advertising for clients. And that I tried to limit to like a number of people, because I think I set it to 12. And depending on what those people are getting, and I know how fast I can go for what they're getting, I can base it off of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Super sweet.
Let me ask you
So,
something
like,
real quick, Mike.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask Levada this because I know you were working on a webtoon, right? Did that? I know webtoons are a lot of work.
Yes.
So did that allow you any room for any other clients at the time?
I did squeeze in a couple of clients because we, since it's basically like we're going at our own pace currently, I could squeeze in other clients.
Okay.
So yeah, like, but if we were getting into a contract with Webtoons, for instance, that would actually have to be a lot tighter and I wouldn't be able to do anything else because it's a weekly thing with them.
Gotcha.
So you can't do 2 weeks bi-weekly.
Got it. Mike, I know you were about to add in. Go ahead.
Hell yeah. Okay, so the main thing I wanted to stress is like that it's almost like there's two different economies, right? Like one of the economies is the one that we're talking about right now, which is 1-to-1. And that's like, you pay me for this work. That's 1-to-1, right? This amount of hours, The place that I'm trying to get to and the place that I think all of us should aim to get to in some shape or form, regardless of whether we're supplementing to some degree, is the passive realm, is the realm or the residual realm, is the realm where, you know, you do a piece of work and you take a ton of time, whatever, it's all gravy, but then that's the work, right? And then that work is making you money while you fucking sleep. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm trying to get to. That's where I'm currently elevating my game to right now. And I think that a lot of us artists have not been taught about the difference, number one, and haven't been given enough ideas for how to get there, number two, right? And so that, I think some of that is gatekeepers in terms of like where our education has been, like who, you know, generational wealth and things like that. It gets into this like this vast place. But the gist is a lot of us are only looking at you know, I need to pay these bills right now. This is a client. Yeah, I mean, this is going to help me pay this bill. Done, right? As opposed to how can I make it so that whatever work I'm doing right here or whatever work I do on the side is gonna be something that I can plug in somewhere and make it so this can make more. This can work for me. Almost like, you know, putting your money in a IRA or whatever the hell the things are that I don't understand, but a whole lot of people do. Stock market, stock market and stuff. It's kind of like us aiming to create ourselves as stock, ourselves as commodity, and get to the point where we have product or we have courses or we have some kind of something that's going to work for us while we are not doing that. And then it frees up our time for doing other things. So I'm currently in that place right now. I'm currently elevating my game. Like right now, as we speak, I'm working on some stuff. But I think that that's a big place that we need to like look into, because so many of us are talking about, you know, the client here and that doesn't stop.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't go nowhere. You just fire.
No, you are completely right. And that's one of the things that I really want to do is what I'm working to is to become like having that passive income and not having to worry about basically working paycheck to paycheck. So client to client. But yeah, because like I find it also kind of hard to kind of break away from it as well though, because it's like I'm kind of worried about having to pay these things and then still putting in the effort and the emotion into the pieces that are supposed to be the ones that you feel like are sellable, like people will connect with. Those are the ones that are going to be like the best ones to to basically
Mhm.
make prints, multiple prints of. People want them,
Mhm.
but you're
Mhm.
doing stuff for other people. So you're channeling two different things.
Yeah.
So I was gonna mention that, right? I don't have the clients that I want. But I also know that I don't strictly want to do commission. I want to be able to make my own stuff and sell physical artwork that I've made. And then I also want to be able to reproduce something I've made, or maybe something I just had the idea for and I made and sell it.
Mhm.
And so it speaks to both sides, right? Like if I take on a commission or if I make a piece, then I have to sell the piece. And I think that's really the biggest disconnect between creators and like selling. We
Mhm.
need to create more and sell less. But
Mhm.
who do we go to when we need to sell more so we can create more? Like we have to then be the PR person, we got to be HR, we got to be payroll,
Mhm.
we got to do all of this stuff. And people are like, oh, well, why don't this, then third. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to nobody. I've been running businesses since I was a kid. Sure, I know how to run a business. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I want to fire myself from all the positions. I don't want to do it. I just want to stay in my house. I just want to make nice things. Like I got furloughed in April and I didn't go back to work until August. I literally was at home. I built a coffee table. I learned how to resin stuff. I've been in the house messing with different brushes, scalpels, all kinds of craziness. And people are like, oh my God, like, where's this talent been? I was like, it's always been there. I just didn't have the time to do it.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, okay, so like, can you do this and can you do that? Yeah, I can do it. But then I gotta sell it.
That part.
Like,
And
sure, I can
that's
do
been the
it.
main.
That is a fact.
That
That is a
But you
fact.
buying
that's
it?
been the main.
And then like my brain explodes, right? So
Yeah.
Will's known me long enough. He knows I used to design clothes. I could easily call a production house and be like, yo, I got this idea for a puffer coat. Let's go 3M on 2 sleeves. Let's do olive on the front. Let's do purple on the back. And they'll send it to me. Sample will cost me like $125. I'll put it on, take a picture. Everybody be like, oh my God, can I get one? Damn. Now I gotta sell a jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, but hold on though.
Now I'm selling pins and jackets and art.
Now I'm gonna jump in on you because you, unlike a bunch of folk, you have your doors. You got your keys. Those are your keys. Your audience, your constituency just told you what they would give you money for. So all you got to do is be like, word. Let me run off a small, limited edition, whatever run of them shits. You have a manufacturer. Most people don't know. I'm gonna be calling you after this, by the way, because I want to get in touch with the manufacturer. Feel me? But
You
there's
did
a
it
whole
again.
bunch of people. You already have. You know what I'm saying? You got all these pieces already in place. See what I'm saying? There's a whole bunch of people who don't have that. So I think there's a disconnect somewhere with you in particular, because you have it. You got all this shit. And when I say all this shit, I mean literal, like you have the infrastructure in place. You got people saying, I would pay you for this. That's what a lot of artists don't have, right? We got little small stuff, we like this print. We're like, okay, how much we gonna make off a print, dog? Like, yes, right. I can make a print. I'm gonna, whatever. But you got puffer coats and shit, a run of that, man, listen. You you put together a small line, you know what I'm saying? You already know how to do it. You don't already run businesses. You don't want to. But if you put together a little chunky where you're just like, all right, how much could I potentially make off a small line that I do once every however long? And people I know for a fact will pay for it because they've already you're barking up my tree, barking up my door, whatever. Like you have a constituency that's telling you where to go, telling you, and it's with stuff you would like anyway. Because it's not like stuff you would hate. It's stuff you would dig. Like you gave them the colors. You had an idea for this. It's your idea, the whole shit. And so I think one of the biggest pieces is us listening to our constituency when they're telling us where they want to put their money in places where we would want to go anyway. That's a big, big thing right there. I think you are sitting on diamonds. It's just like right there.
You can't even deny it because he already knows. I see him put stuff out. I see Rennie put stuff out. He'll put out abstracts. He'll put out clothing and apparel. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'll do this like full time. Like, when is this gonna happen? But I know he's also working on the festival as well. So I don't know if that creates a sense of, or a lack of time that's available for you to concentrate on those things. Now, I know 2020, and I'm going to ask you guys this because we've touched on this a little bit. 2020 has given us, I guess one of the blessings of 2020 is it's given us time where we've had the ability to kind of focus on some things. And some of us, it may not have necessarily been art. We may have been able to focus on other things, but how do you feel you've been able to maybe rebrand yourself or focus in and hone in on what it is that you're doing, what you want to do in 2020? Has it helped? Has it hindered? What's going on?
Well, it's been all
I
love
got
for me.
words for that.
No, like
I got
it's
words.
been beautiful in terms of having that time and sort of knowing what I want to do with it and then doing it and not having to worry about, well, I got this festival coming up or I have this convention, because I do a lot of conventions, right? And all of them were canceled in March. Prior to March, it was, well, I want to do this project, but I don't know how I'm going to pay for my trip to Houston, or I don't know how I'm going to pay for this, and I have to buy supplies, and then I have to make artwork specifically for this crowd and all this. So it's been like, I can't, in regards to having the time and the ability to work on what I want to do, like it's so beautiful. Like I cannot stress that enough. And I encourage and have been encouraging people through this year as opposed to worrying about being afraid of certain things happening and worrying about the future. Like focus on now, what's going on right now. Like you have this wonderful opportunity to learn something new, to spend time with your kids, to, create. Just like focus on that. It's been so beautiful. It really has.
I want to let other people talk.
Go ahead, Micah. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Itching.
Micah's
Go ahead,
ready.
man.
Micah's ready. He be on it. He be like, nah, I'm gonna let somebody else go, but I'm ready when you're
I
done.
want to let somebody else go.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, man.
2020 been crazy, yo, because I feel like it's teaching us the whole two things, right? So some of what you're going to hear come out of me is because one of the hats, helmets, friggin' wing sets that I wear is I'm an empowerment coach. You know what I mean? And so a lot of that just comes out. You know what I mean? Inspiration is my thing, and empowering and activating people's shine is my thing, right? So it's been this, I think 2020 has been a space that's teaching a whole lot of us to hold two things simultaneously. We almost always are. Like being Black in America, we hold several things simultaneously, just that alone. Being male, being gay, being whatever it is you are, like you're holding multiple things, right? And that's just how it goes. Multiple things are true at one time. So the thing that I think 2020 is really bringing into focus is there's always something fucked up going on. There's always something messed up happening. And life is happening too. You know what I mean? And there's amazingness, and there's moments of grandeur and brilliance and beautiful, and simultaneously there's horrible, just trifling, whatever. So for me, it's been a measure of holding, not just the race stuff, not just the pandemic stuff. We also had the fire stuff going in. You know what I mean? So it's been holding what's happening to friends, family, sometimes almost happening to me. It's almost been almost. I'm super grateful and fortunate that it hasn't been us yet. But simultaneously, it's been my creativity is through the roof, yo. Come on, like stop it. And a bunch of places are blowing up at the same time. You know what I mean? I'm doing things, I'm trying things, and getting paid to try things that I never even did before. You know what I mean? Like it's insane. And so what I've been given the folk is just recognize, like Brittany just said, taking time to pay attention. You stop and smell the roses, whatever. But like taking time to pay attention to the amount of good that's happening and then take advantage of it. I think follow-up is everything, especially in 2020. I mean, because there's all these opportunities just like kind of raining down, especially on us as Black artists. It sucks, but it's real. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like more people is paying attention to us right now. So I'm like, you better take that attention. Freaking run with that shit.
Very true.
That's real.
Very true. Brittany, you was about to jump in?
I was going to say it's been a real sort of golden age experience. I've seen for a lot of people, and not just artistically. I've seen more people open up businesses this year than I know, because I get like the logo commissions. And it's like, hey, I got this idea. Can you do such and such? And it's been constant. And I think that it's easy to focus on the fear, especially if you're like tuned into media, social media, TV, and all that. It's easy to sort of focus on that. But I'm looking at the grander scheme of things, and to me, it's been a real like straight up golden age. It's been awesome. It really has been.
True.
So
and I'll also acknowledge real quick that there's a bunch of folk who have gotten really jacked up There's a bunch of
Yeah,
people who are going through
right.
some real messed up situations. I mean, it hasn't been golden at all for them. It's been really jacked up. And I just want to
Right.
acknowledge that, like, we're not saying, you know, hey, everything's great. And fuck
Right.
you.
Definitely
Oh,
not
yeah,
taking
yeah,
away
no,
from
no,
anybody's
no.
struggle.
I mean,
Right, right.
by
Not
any
at
means.
all.
totally acknowledge it, right?
Yeah.
We're just talking about our individual experiences, you know,
Right.
juxtaposed against what's happening in our world. I just want to
Right.
put that out there.
Thank you, Micah. Thank you. That was awesome.
You can tell you're an empowerment coach, but we're going to jump into that later. I can tell. You can tell it's a certain way that you speak and a certain energy that you bring with how you speak that you can definitely tell that that's a field that you actually operate in successfully.
Thank you.
I want to say it to Rachel. How has 2020 been for you
Word.
in terms of being a visual artist?
It's been like almost every year for me. I don't think it's changed too much at all, other than, you know, what's actually going on around the world. It hasn't really affected me too much because I have to focus on what I'm doing and I can't let it distract me too much. I will say I have been drawing a lot more because I'm working on this large project right now. So I'm also painting, but when it comes to my time and what I'm doing a lot of drawing. So it's like I'm kind of honing in on something that I've been trying to look for in my work. I actually want to return more to my work, so I'm glad I have that time now. You know, with the children being home, kids. One, he's out of school, so he's being homeschooled. So I'm also being more hands-on with his learning, and I'm trying to just take it day by day, really. I can't really say too much has changed. So I'm just
have you felt more inspired this year?
More inspired to do my own work. Yeah, I was just like, I want to get to that so much, you know. I'm just waiting to do that. And so I'm like getting a lot of sketches ready, so that I can paint more, because, you know, I work in oil paint. So I'm just like trying to build that up and get that stuff ready to go so I can do my own thing. I'm like so excited. But
yes.
I think I've been a little bit more inspired, but not because of what's going on. I just want to get to what I want to do.
There you go. Okay. Okay. Laveda?
I concur for what she said. I've been mostly, as far as like for my own personal works, I've been actually writing down some ideas that I have that I want to do. And I'm trying to set up a schedule where I actually produce at least one, and I'm going to build it up to about 3 or 4 personal pieces a month. Because I really want to start like getting more in touch with myself in that way. So instead of constantly working on ideas for other people, because obviously it's a lot different. So
Okay. So let's I'm gonna ask Rennie, how have you felt about 2020 and what it's like? You've created more, you've done more, right? Do you feel that's pushed you more towards the direction of what you want to do permanently, or do you feel like it's a tease?
I mean, I'll start off by saying F 2020 and the clique it rolled in with. But I used to always ask my high school students when I taught, if money wasn't an issue, what would you do all day? The sooner you answer that question, the sooner you will have figured out what it is that you want to do with your life. I've always known that I wanted to do art, like my whole life. What form? You can pick one, right? I've done motion graphics, I've done photography, I've done digital design, illustration. I've done it all. But this year has shown me what medium, what lane that I would be comfortable sitting in for the next 40, 50, 60, 100 years. You know, I like abstracts. I like not being confined to being precise. I like being able to sit down and just go. I like building things. I like working with my wood cutting tools and bringing something that I made on a computer to life, whether it be wood or it be canvas, or it be basketball jerseys. You know, I haven't even released those, but Will knows what I'm talking about. Well, we won't talk about that tonight, because those aren't done. But it has helped me figure out what particularly in art I want to do. With that, now I can focus on promoting just that, like doing that, getting people to see that side of me and really putting my all into that. The other side of it will always be the festival, because I don't drink and I need something to do at night. Okay. I don't want to take 15 shots at your bar. That's boring. Ask me the controller, somebody come get this work in Call of Duty. Like, that's all I got for you. But I love Nerf guns. And I think that people that like video games and people that make art, people that need to sell art, people that use food as art, people that play with Nerf guns can all be in the same building.
Yeah.
Don't think that they're creative, can still be in that building. You can, as Will tell y'all, when I rolled in the big trash cans for life-size beer pong, people was like, what
all over it.
Doing?
They didn't know what was happening, but they were all over it.
Like, this was their faces like, did you just make a painting while playing beer pong? What? And that was that. Like, people started calling me like, yo, can you do this at my birthday party? I mean, I guess.
You could be paid to.
Right. But that is what 2020 has given me. It's like, okay, cool. This is the type of art that I like to create. These are the things that I'm good at. I can put them all together. Even the aspect of merch, I have a very unique take on what I want to wear. So that's what I want to create. Like, even the shooting shirt I'm wearing, it says purpose. It's the old 92, 96 Bulls shooting shirt. We remade it and we put purpose on it, and the back says 2020. And I now know that I can put all of that together because I had the time to literally stop and look at it in 2020. Otherwise, it had just been full steam ahead. I would have tried to do the festival this year, and that's where all the money would have went, and yada, yada, yada. And now I can take a step back and be like, okay, cool. I know what I'm going to do moving forward. So I appreciate 2020, but it took Kobe, so can't really bang with it.
There you go.
You feel me? The world is on fire, literally, figuratively. The celebrity in chief has been driving me nuts. And I just wish they would hurry up and legalize melanin before the year is over.
I like that.
New shirt coming soon.
I like that.
On the lookout.
Okay.
Man, is this I swear. Treasure troves. The treasure troves, man. I swear.
Yep. All the ideas.
This reminds me, the car salesman of art. I got y'all. We could be billionaires overnight.
Yeah, you need to hire somebody, man. Find you somebody.
Seriously.
I don't even know how to look for them.
We're gonna talk. Because you got ideas for days.
Show
and every last one of them is money.
Whiteboard next to me with stuff on.
Stupid.
Now that's gonna launch us into another poll. Take your time with that. But one of the questions in it is, you know, we're all artists, and somebody said I need that T-shirt in a 3XL, so you need to get on it. See what you're doing? I'm just saying.
Gotcha. I'm gonna go warm the heat press up after we get off.
See, there you go. He has everything.
I do have two ready too.
Like he's already prepped. He could probably turn around and walk in there and make it while this is going on and come back out, because that's what he does. But we're not going to talk about that.
I just don't have 3X in stock. So.
I'm mad at him. I'm mad at him. I'm mad. I'm totally mad. He talking about I only make 1/10 of you could be making so much off your shit. Oh my God.
He could. We know it. We all feel it. That's why we all
tomorrow, dude, you could pre-sell a shit out of something, not even had a product yet. Motherfuckers will give you money just off the way you project your stuff. You wearing your shit. Like, oh my God, pre-sales are your friends. I'm gonna shut up now. Oh my God.
No. He needs that. I feel like he needs to hear that. Because there are probably people in here as well that need to hear that same thing because they're probably doing things similar. They have all the resources, they have the tools at their disposal, but they may not necessarily be pushing it out there how they should be or could be.
Like it's super true because he even got ideas. He's like, I don't know how. But then he drops like 15 reasons on ways how. Like, I'm like, what do you mean? What you talking about right now?
Hey, Rennie, I need you to make sure you check that email in the chat too.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay,
I'm gonna link with Antonio.
There we go.
Blowing my mind right now.
So we've all started these careers, and I think one of the things that there's this concept of the starving artist. We've all heard it at some point or another, and I don't know if before you started it like drove you crazy because you were like, I don't want to do this and then I'm gonna be broke. Oh my God, like how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do that? But how did you feel? And this is like the first question in this poll. As an artist, like, have you felt the career path you chose has been supported by people around you? And if you felt it's been supported, like who do you feel it's been most supported by?
I think that's real interesting to bring up the starving artist because I remember like I'm sure a lot of you guys, I've always been an artist. Like I always drew. I was always like creating something, right? It wasn't until I was about 16 I heard my first Black art teacher. And it was the first time I'd ever known anybody else that like, this first time I acknowledged that it was like a thing, right? And I remember up until that point, I wanted to be an attorney. And having that teacher sort of steered me into being an artist. But the idea that I kept running into was that artists don't make money unless you're a graphic designer, right? And I was like, okay, well, cool. I guess I'm going to be a graphic artist. And so I went to school to be a graphic artist, but my heart wasn't in graphic design. Like I love to draw, I love to paint, digital, all of that, right? Illustrations, all of that. That's where I feel the freest, right? So at first, like I said, at first, a lot of it was, oh, great, you're going to be a graphic designer, you're going to make all this money, you're going to do this, that, and the third. And so when it became time to switch up, there was a fear that I won't be accepted by the people around me. But I have found that, for one, first person I was 16 told was my mom. Mom, would you be mad if I, didn't go to school to be a lawyer and instead was an artist? Go ahead. Like this is your life, right? So that was my first sort of taste of familial support, right? Since then, it's been all love. And I think with strangers, what I find is that as long as you are confident in what you do, I haven't ran into any kind of sort of opposition because this is what I do. And so it's like, I get more of, oh, wow, I didn't know people actually, did that full time or whatever. So family has been like crazy supportive of me. So much so that if I am slipping in any way, like, what you doing? I get the phone calls like, we haven't seen you post or we haven't seen you create anything. I just want to make sure you're all right. Make sure you're still staying at it. I remember when I went to college, it became difficult because I went to a majority white college, and I was the only Black girl in most of my art classes, right? And so it became discouraging, and I stopped creating. I was like, forget it. And I got some of the worst like roastings. Like my mom was like, no, we're not doing this. Like this is what you like to do. Don't let nobody take you away from what you love to do. It don't matter, this and the third. And so I've been fortunate in having that support. Now I say that to say that I've had young people come up to me in the past, sort of at conventions, 16, 17-year-olds, some younger than that, and they'll sort of become inspired to see a Black woman at a comic book convention, selling artwork. And the second thing that I hear is, oh man, people around me think that I should go to school to be whatever else, an accountant, right, the traditional career paths, right? And they're like, we didn't know, same thing that I felt with my Black art teacher, we didn't know that you could do this. I'm like, you know, and so I become that support for them. If even, you know, for like 5 minutes in our interactions, is like, look, you could, it's possible, you know. So that's how it's been for me. It's been interesting. It has been.
You know I got words, right?
Go ahead on. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. What you got? It's always on your face. Let's go.
Oh my God.
No, don't hold back, man.
Go ahead. We want to hear it.
It's so back and forth, right? Like some of the questions, even on the questionnaire, like on the polls that answered, a bunch of them have been like yes and no, right? Like, because I feel like I wanted to touch on something Brittany said, because the starving artist thing, what she spoke to was that she actually had support and simultaneously felt the weight of unsupport. That wasn't the people, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't even necessarily in her class. It wasn't even people telling her she couldn't. It was the ain't no more Black people in this bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not even, it's more like ideas. It's more concepts. There are a lot of artists who do have people just being like, no, you ain't going, you know, whatever. But there's a lot of us who just feel these like unspoken norms, these things that are just, they're like amorphous concepts that are just, they feel like weight. And for me, I've had a bunch of support in terms of individuals, but I have consistently felt, not anytime recently, but consistently felt when I was growing up, that there was a weight, that there was like something trying to step on me, you know, and part of that was race, and part of that was, you know, ghetto and all this other shit, and finance and class and stuff. But part of it is the artist thing. Oh, you can't make no money.
Unless you feel like that's the thing.
Unless you did, posthumous. And so I, you know, like Brittany, I was like, I want to do art, but I can't make no money. They were like, architects make money and they do art. And I was like, ooh, I'm gonna become an architect. So I did a pre-architecture class and realized just how little freedom you have until you get super big. And was like, oh, nope. So then I jumped out, and then I did the same thing. That's why I ended up in graphics at Polo, because I was like, this is how you're gonna make money. It's the graphics, not art, you know, whatever. And it took a minute before a lot of it was just people being like, oh, you could draw. Can you draw this for me? And then me being like, yeah, you're gonna pay me. And they were like, yeah, I'll pay you. And I was like, oh shit, oh, hold up, wait, you know? So I think a lot of it is just you realizing people will pay you for this and this and that. And then you got to figure out how to make it happen. But the thing I wanted to speak to primarily was just the concept thing. Like, I do feel that if I didn't have this allergy, this hardcore allergy to being stepped on, this ridiculous revulsion, this aversion to feeling like anybody's trying to stop me from doing anything. If I didn't have like a massive allergy to that, I might not be an artist. You know what I mean? Because I do feel like this world, when we were growing up, I feel like it's changed a lot since we ain't all that old, but I do feel like within the past 2-3 decades, like shit has changed a lot for artists. And it's not like it's all super easy now, but there's a lot more, you know, with the internet, things have become massively possible. Like you can set up a store in a day and be chilling. Sure. Anyway, I mean, I just wanted to speak to the fact that a lot of us, it was about pride. It was about this defiant thing that was just like, no, I'm not gonna stop doing what, no, fuck that. I'm gonna find a way. And then you just, the universe opens stuff up like, oh, okay, you serious about yours? All right, here you go. Like, have some of this. Yo, you know. So that's just what I wanted to say on that.
Okay, that was good. Listen, don't hold yourself back from jumping in at any time. Look, we are all here to join the conversation, and we know we're gonna notice it when you're holding back. You see how we all were like, go ahead. We saw you bubbling over. We saw it. So I just want to I'm not going to deviate from it, but I'm kind of going to bring about a derivative of what we were just talking about, because Kimberly Ming said in the comments, she said, I've had family discount my art, and Rennie said he wanted to touch on this. I believe because of their personal history as immigrants. Has anyone had family or close people not support their art or life path, and how did you overcome it? Rennie?
Rennie cracking it up.
Man, let me go ahead and get ready. So I'll start from the beginning, basically, right? I was real curious about music. I was about 6. My uncle, my stepdad, they were musicians. My uncle had a whole recording studio in his house. She could go pay him a visit, shows me all the instruments in the house. We get to the turntable, he moves it, and I was like, Oh, do that again. Hold on. He gave me a mixer. We got home for my birthday. My mom buys me these turntables, belt drive, terrible in comparison to like what I would later get. I'm like, yo, I could really do this. 2 years later, I'm 8. I get my first gig. It's one of my mom's coworkers. And I'm legitimately DJing and I got paid to DJ. And people are like, wait, what? Like, hold on. But he's only 8. Like, he can't do this. Like, so as I get older, I'm deep into middle school. I'm doing all the parties in middle school. I'm getting booked for high school gigs. My mom packing the Buick and driving me around. I'm making my own money. I was off my parents' taxes before I was 17. So now this is where the story sort of comes into comparison, right? I get to college. I take over the radio station, the television station. I have a show on a Canadian television network, and I'm on Power 105 when it launches in 2004. My parents have never worked outside of a 9-to-5. Mm-hmm. They don't understand the concept of freelancing. They don't understand the concept of the gig economy. They don't understand it at all. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, I mean, he makes money, cool, but like, when are you gonna make real money?
Mm-hmm. Real money, that part.
When are you going to do the thing that we're familiar with? Mm-hmm. When are you going to get a degree in PhD, music theory, or become a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is that they in their mind wanted me to do, because they didn't understand what it was that I was doing. They had no concept of it. They couldn't help me because they didn't know. So their first reaction was to steer me away. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, yo, run full steam at the train. It was, there's a train coming, just get out the way. And my thing was, no, the train's gonna change tracks. Don't worry about the train. We're good. We just gotta ride this out and we're gonna be all right. And it wasn't until I explained how my world worked to my mom that everything changed. My grandfather, well, if you can see the painting behind me, so that's one of his. That's an oil painting. I happen to have another one in front of me. So he's been an artist and a photographer and an industrial designer my entire life. And he gave it up because he had 2 girls, fresh out the Navy, living in the Bronx when rent was $37 on Grand Concourse. And that disconnect from her dad to me was wide. Mm-hmm. So she couldn't help me. Family couldn't help me. Nobody could help me because nobody understood. Mm-hmm. And the only thing they knew how to do was, yo, make a resume, go get a day job. Make a resume, go get a day job. And that didn't help. And everyone wondered why I was so angry, so upset, and so frustrated, because they couldn't help me with my art. They couldn't help me with my talent because they didn't understand. And they didn't want to understand. Mm-hmm. So I literally went to war with people. And they were like, yo, well, if you don't do this, we're not going to pay for this. That's fine. I don't care. I got enough money to go buy a house. Matter of fact, I'll go buy 3. And as soon as I went and bought a crib, I was like 20. And then like my mom and dad were like, wait, what do we do? Like, he kind of
lost all power.
Right, like it's Gambit over here. Like, what are we gonna do? Like,
mine changed real quick.
You gotta pull it off. So I say that to say, if you think that your art is good, or you think that is what you want to do it. Mm-hmm. Do it. Sometimes you just gotta go to war with folks. Mm-hmm. Like, you gotta stick to your guns. You gotta dig in. You gotta be 10 toes down with it. Like. But I wasn't finna budge off what I knew I was good at. You're not gonna tell me that at 17 I'm on a Canadian radio station, but I'm not gonna make no money off of this? Nah, y'all tripping. Y'all tripping. Just because I'm not making the money that you think I make, or you don't know how to help me make more money, doesn't mean that this isn't viable. Now, mind you, both of my parents make well over $200,000 a year each. So their concept of like me making money and their amount of money is different. But once I explained to my mom, yo, my resume is not going to look like this. It has to look like this. Then she was like, okay, cool. Give me a second. I'm going to rework this. Can you give me a design that fits this? And I was like, yeah, why not? And I did it. And then we was cooking with grease. But it was literally just that missing chink in the chain. I just had to connect it. Like, they have no idea what's going through my head. They have no idea. So as soon as I gave them the idea, then everybody was like, oh, well, bro, why you ain't say that? Why you ain't say that? Like, yo, we here, we lit, we got you. And then like my grandmother was on board. My grandfather was like, yo, you could do this, that, and the third. And like, I bought him a camera for his birthday, and he had never had a digital camera. He was like, I could take 2,000 photos and never. Why y'all ain't telling me about this?
Where are they storing these photos at?
Let me ask you this though. Do you think that your age was the driving factor for that experience? Do you think you would have gone through it now?
That's a good question.
At this age, I don't think I would have had to go through it. I ain't got to ask somebody permission.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, like I'm married, so like there's certain things that I'm not gonna do at this age. Like,
right.
I'm not.
Well, I guess not necessarily this age, but like older than, yeah.
Yeah, like it really came down to I need to go to a different level, or I want to be a photographer, but I want it to be my day job. My mom understands day jobs. I understand photography. My mom can write a resume, but I need to give her the information to put on the resume. But at this stage in the game, whether my mom is involved or not, like,
yeah, it doesn't matter now.
Right. At 33, I ain't gotta ask nobody permission.
Right.
Oh, snap, NJIT is hiring. Do I know somebody that worked there? Nah, okay, let me find a department. Like, I know that if that's what I want, I'm gonna just go after it. I'm gonna Google, I'm gonna research, I'm gonna do. But when you're 16 and like your parents are like, well, you're going to be a psychology major, or we're just not going to cover your school, that kind of put the battery in your back. I run this campus. This is my university. I know, like, and the crazy part about it, my mom worked for the university I went to.
Wow.
So she knew anyway.
I don't want to touch on how that experience was at all.
So my godfather, for perspective, my godfather ran RCMI, which was research, something medicine and institutions. Basically, it was all Black people who were all biologists, radiologists, scientists, and the other. He ran the department. So one floor above my mom's, she was the director of pre-medical studies and pre-health. Literally all of them. And my aunt was the chemistry professor at A. Philip Randolph in Harlem, right next door. I couldn't go nowhere in a 15-block radius where somebody wasn't gonna be like, yo, ain't you Lolita's son?
Damn.
God,
I'm also a DJ though.
Around here, man.
I'm also a DJ.
Around here.
I DJ your party though. Jesus.
Right. Like I would do an event, and by the time I got back to my mom's office on the other side of the street, she would already know. Yo, the provost of the school said you did an amazing job.
What? So real quick, I wanted to leap because I also wanted to touch on the fact that for a lot of people watching, for a lot of people witnessing, and for people asking in particular, you know, his situation is unique. And one of the reasons it's unique, obviously, is because he's an alien. That's obvious, right? But outside of that, it's the fact that, you know, he's coming up in a family where both parents, 200 grand plus, you know what I'm saying, per year. Like, but they came up in a specific realm, weight class. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of us, you know, who ain't, no, right? And so I think there's some of the osmosis that he got, right? Is like this business mind, this hustle mind, this I can make money from this mind, right? That his parents didn't even realize he was catching. I think it's just being in a household. Like, it seems the facts kind of back up that if you're in a household with parents who are making X amount of money, you are more prone to make X amount of money than people who coming up in households where their parents is like, you know what I mean? And so a whole lot of us came up with parents who, you know, they didn't have a financial chip like that, right? And so I just wanted to speak to the fact that there's also some of that involved in just what he soaked in osmosis. It's just that it seems like he came through as like almost what came through in him as a human. What's being expressed in him as a human is like the expression valve versus the whatever needed to go for the numbers and the doctors and the pre-medical shit I didn't even know existed. So he's just an artist born and bred. I mean, first gig at 8 is blowing everybody in the chat room's mind. Stop it. So you know what I'm saying, like, talking about I got paid.
He had OnlyFans at 8. It's fine.
Fucking crazy. But it is, there is a class thing. There is that translates. I mean, so a lot of the artists that are, black, white, whatever, we have to find a way without having had anybody in our fams with the financial chip. And we got the art thing that people are saying you can't make no money off of. And we don't know how to make, a lot of us didn't come up knowing how to make money, period, like with or without art. You know what I mean? We scrambling. So I just wanted to touch on that, and the fact that like that obviously played a role. We just don't know what and how, and the reverberations and repercussions. You know what I'm saying?
So I think that was also one of the biggest factors, right? Mm-hmm. So my mom is from the Bronx, from 149th. Her and my grandmother respectively both have gold trophies or gold medals in boxing. And they were Black women in the projects when the projects first started, like I guess before they were projects. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother was the assistant superintendent of District 4 in Harlem as a Black woman. All my life, I've literally just known fighters. My stepdad is from Southside Chicago. My father is from deep in Alabama, where like they hang people. And I watched very intently growing up. My oldest brother ran drugs and guns through the state of New Jersey. Almost lost his eye getting into a fight with some dude in a store, got hit with a brick. And I watched everyone make all of these interesting and terrible mistakes. And I was just like, yo, fam, I want to do none of this. All right? Like, you're good. Yo, you've been bankrupt, so we not gonna do that. You've been what? You've been stabbed? Yo, we good. I'm not even with it. Like, I'm light skinned, bruises show up. I want none of this. So my hustle was always built off of watching or being empathetic to the people around me and watching them make mistakes. And it was like, I don't want to be that mistake, so we just not gonna do that.
Yep.
You know what? Let me jump in, because I think that it's a very interesting take. And one of the things that Micah brought up is the difference in coming up with a certain amount of money compared to others as well. I feel like the fighting instinct and aspect that you just spoke of kind of comes in a lot of ways. Like some people might see the fighting aspect in a different way, but it's always something I feel like we almost inherit, like as we get older. And I feel like with me, it was weird because I always felt supported by my mom, like always, hands down. She was you can do whatever you want. You are the smartest. Can't nobody can do X, Y, and Z better than you ever. If you decide it's something you want to do, you'll be the best at it. Like, so that was drilled in my head. It was never I can't do type of situation. So what ended up happening was I went throughout school, honor roll, AP classes, blah, 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 right? And senior year, I decided I want to do art, but I wanted to do design. So I went to this place called the Westchester Business Institute. And, it's not a college, it's not a university, i.e. institute at the end of it. So, but I wanted to get my degree. It was at the time an associate's was still worth something, but I was going to start off with an associate's and I was going to get that in graphic design. And we sat down with the guy, and keep in mind, I'm first generation college student for my family. So it's a big deal of them not knowing or understanding that. But I went there and I sat down and we talked to the entrance counselor guy, and I was excited. And she was like, no. Even though she supported me my entire life up until that point, she said to me, you're gonna get this scholarship because my cousin and I, my cousin is a year older than me. She and I basically had the same teacher, same everything. She ended up getting a full engineering scholarship. She was like, you're gonna get that same scholarship. And I was like, okay. But I didn't really want to do that at that point. Like, I loved science, but I ended up getting the full engineering scholarship. And as a result, she was like, that's it. You're going to school for engineering because ain't nobody paying for nothing else. You got a full scholarship. This is what's going to happen. And I remember just going with the flow and not really, and when I think back on it, I'm like, I didn't really feel supported in that moment because it was weird because I didn't want to do it. In the school I ended up going to, I went to Drexel University in Philadelphia, and I remember going on a tour of this school before I actually got there, and I hated it. And I was like, yo, if there's a school I never want to go to, it's this school. And I ended up getting a scholarship for that school, and I ended up there. And I literally could not stand it. But during that time period, I felt like all the creativity, all the art that I had created up until that point, from that point for 10 years, I didn't even touch pen to paper, pencil to paper, like didn't create anything because my focus just wasn't there. My drive wasn't there. I ended up changing from engineering and going to computer science, and I learned coding. And then from computer science, I went to visual communication. From visual communication, I ended up graduating with my degree, my bachelor's in graphic design. But even with all of that being said and done, it was like, I didn't want to do that.
Thanks so much.
Like, you know, I could have been doing something else. I could have been doing what I loved in the meantime. And it felt like a waste of time. And had I felt like I was supported a little bit more during that time period, and maybe I would have gotten to it sooner. And I think one of the biggest things was I had my kids at a very young age. So I was 19 when they were born, and they're currently 19, going on 20, and they're in college and they're going through like everything that I went through. So at that time, I kind of felt alone. And my ex, who happened to be an Aries, which is why I was throwing the Aries thing earlier. Y'all weren't there for that, but that's the whole thing. But we got to a point where it was the support wasn't there in the relationship. And I felt like that affected me as well and got me in a state of almost depression where I just didn't feel like I could accomplish anything. And it took a while for me to get out of that. And I feel like support for me was crucially important because I was built up on that from my mom. So when it disappeared, it like hit me harder than I expected. I didn't really know how to get out of it. So I don't know if anybody else experienced anything like that, but that was my experience.
Sounds like you had a sense of damn near like betrayal, because it was here's the woman who's been your spine for like this whole time. There's the one person you always got your back, and then on the one moment when you're like, this is what I want to do, she's like, no, the fuck you don't. And that's crucial. I mean, that hurts. That hurts. It's different from somebody else who's coming up who ain't had none of that, so they're used to it. You know what I mean? So cats is like, fuck what you're saying. I'm doing what I'm doing regardless. Like, how you doing? I want to hear like from Rachel and Veda. Like, what's up with you? Like, what are your experiences in terms of support and feeling it or not feeling it? I mean, I'm curious.
My support has been very strong. My family supported me since I was young because I knew when I was younger, I always wanted to be an artist. And then there was also like, either I'm going to be an artist, a judge, a veterinarian, or an architect. And as I got older, kind of just went to the wayside. And I'm like, okay, artists standing out to me. So they have always been supportive. My uncle, he's an artist. So I was seeing that as I grew up. And I'm like, okay, that looks still cool to do. And I was just attracted to it. You know, he would try to teach me how to draw or how to see the human body, and I thought it was just so cool. He would like teach me in like shapes, and I was like, okay, I can grasp that. Then, you know, as I got older into high school, you know, I was kind of making the choice, like, do I still do art as a career, you know, as a life path? And my mom, she was like, you know, if this is what you want to do, stick to it. And, you know, I support you. You know, your whole family supports you for what you want to do. But I also was told that I shouldn't go into art. And that kind of, you know, that kind of deterred me a little bit. And I didn't at all. I decided to go into business and marketing. And while I was away at college for like 6 weeks, I was just like, this is not it. You know, I let dictate what I should do with my life, even though I already knew what I wanted to do. So it was just hard. And I eventually made the decision to leave college and actually try to find a middle place between what would be acceptable as a grown-up. I guess I should do something that's responsible. So I was like, okay, I should go to a business. I should take like business. Close my door, sweetie. Sorry, you guys. This is my baby.
You got kids. It's all good.
Yeah, that is perfect. We want that. That's that.
Sorry.
Wait.
Close it. Okay, so sorry, you guys.
It's all good.
I decided to go for interior design. So I was like, I can still do art and I can still, you know, have like the business thing going. But eventually I didn't even do that either. So I decided for myself that I needed to do exactly what I felt I needed to do. And that was to pursue art as an artist full time and just find my way from there. And whatever happens, happens. And I know my mom and everybody still supported me. Friends supported me. Strangers even supported me. And I thought that was like, this is exactly what I should have been doing from the get-go. And wasted so many years trying to, you know, look good in somebody else's eye instead of my own. So
hello.
Yeah, so I'm glad I did that. And although I'm mad that I lost so many years, I was like, I could have been here by now. But my path.
How about you, Lavita?
Yeah. I kind of feel like it's been a back and forth thing for me. Sorry, give me a moment. But because I feel like my family has always wanted to support me, but there have been instances where it doesn't feel that way. And I've also had it where like where my dad would try to tell me what to do with it instead of seeing me like what I was trying to do myself. Yeah. So in an instance, it made me feel like he was trying to control how I was gonna get to being really successful with it. That was something that I struggled with for a few years. My siblings were supportive, but there was a part in my life where they weren't there, so I didn't have that reinforcement. So I feel like most of my reinforcement actually came from strangers and spots here and there with friends. So, and then there were also times when it was like, you should just, you know, get a job. Because it's been really hard trying to build a momentum where I can actually take care of stuff myself. So.
Yeah, I can see that. I remember at one point I was told to walk into IBM with your resume and just give it to them. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, it doesn't work like that, like at all. Nobody does that. At one point, I think it was funny because at one point, when I was at Drexel, we had I wasn't in a regular 4-year program. I was in a 5-year program. So you do a co-op. So 6 months out of the year, you work technically in the field of study. And then the other 6 months you go to classes, and you do that for the 4 years following your freshman year. I ended up somehow at PNC Bank in the human resources department. And I would sit there and look at the resumes. They would get maybe for any job 500 resumes. I would see a stack of papers like this. And I was responsible for making sure these things got to the right people, because I was looking at it and I was like, there's no way any of you guys are getting hired, because all your resumes look the same. They're identical. Like it was just old paper. Somebody faxed in, or somebody did this, somebody did that. And I was just like, this is why people who go and look for a job 9 times out of 10 are like, oh, we hired somebody else. They're not looking through those whole stacks. They go through a couple of them and they're like, okay, we found somebody. And they literally shove that pile of paper off the desk, because there's so many of them, there's no way they're ever going to hit them. And I think it's interesting when we talk about, the support aspect, because as time gets older, or our time goes on, as we get older, we start to look less and less outside for people to actually support us, and we get an attitude of, I don't give a and this is what I'm going to do. And I feel like
there we go.
That has contributed to helping us actually get to the point that we've wanted. But I've also noticed, and I'm going to ask you guys to contribute everybody to this answer, and I have it in the poll. With the time that we tend to feel we may have or may not have lost, attempting to get to where we are, do we sometimes find ourselves comparing somebody else's progress to our own? Like, do we feel like, oh, if I just did this at this time, I would be where this person is, or this person has this, and I could have had that same thing if. Anybody want to jump in? Let me know your opinion.
Yeah, I'll start. This was something I was actually just thinking about. So for me, when I started, I was doing a lot of fan art, right? And I think a lot of artists start when they just feel like this is what I'm going to do. They start reproducing other people's creations as fan art. And I spent a lot of years doing that. And I found myself very dissatisfied with like my level of creation, and like not being able to express myself, even though I'm doing the stuff that I like. I'm redoing someone else's thought process, right? And just making it my own. And I had gotten to a point where I was dissatisfied with that. And so it took me up until maybe the last couple of years to fully step into doing the things that I want to do, right? And spending this time focusing on what I want to see, as opposed to what I think other people want to see. So where I did have that support system in place, I felt like I needed to live up to the expectation of creating something they were used to seeing, right? As opposed to me being very intentionally introspective through my artwork. And so that's something that I have just stepped into, like fully just like, F it, this is me. This is what I want to do. This is how I like to see things done, and seeing where that goes. And I will say that once I did that, everything seemed to fall into place. Like I didn't have to worry so much about, because I was attracting the people that vibe with me, right? Or that vibe with whatever I put up last week, or whatever. And so it took me a while to do that. And so I was curious to go along with your question, to know, like, for you guys that are doing it full time, or just, or not, right? With the artwork that you guys put out, are you satisfied, or does it speak to who you are? Or are you guys focusing more on what other people, you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, you're making sense.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to talk. And it just kind of, that's your question reminded me of that. And I was like, I wonder. Like, since we talking, I'm curious.
And you know what? I'm gonna jump in, and then Rachel, do you want to jump in, like, and say something?
Oh yeah, I would say that if I'm looking at somebody else's art, or seeing their progress, sometimes, like early on when I was starting out, I was feeling like, okay, if they're doing that and it's getting them to this point,
right,
I can do that too and get to that point as well. But it's like, is that really the path I want to take? or if I do that, I have to keep going. So it's like I have to look more into myself to see what I want to do and where I see myself, and then try to create my own path for that. But well, Brittany, what was that you had just said? I'm sorry, I had just forgot.
Oh, it's all good. Just hell, I don't know. I'm just went all the way blank. So in this sort of realm of comparing yourselves, right, and wasting, or not, I won't even say wasting your time, but like spending time, I don't know, worrying about like what you should have done. Was any of that time spent doing, I don't know, I guess I'm answering my own question. I was gonna say, is any of that time spent doing like what you wanted to do, or were you spending that time doing things that, you know, I guess you thought maybe other people expected you to do?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I did at one point start to do fan art, but I wasn't happy doing the fan art. And I was like, I just have to do my own. And if I create my own work and my own images, then maybe people will like them too. And eventually they do. Or, you know, it's just like that. You find that group of people who gravitate to your work.
Right.
You know, I don't have to, you know, just limit myself to doing fan art. They limit, but just do that only. So I
will say too that you specifically and Will were two of the people that I followed, that I watched, like with your, like I can pick y'all's art, and Micah too, I could pick y'all's art like in a sea of pictures, right? And so I was watching you guys create things, and I'm like, I know, like they seem to be doing so well, like, and they seem to be so free in their own style and their own perspective. And that's when for me it clicked, like I can do this too. You know, I don't have to please other people. Like I can, like, literally have watched you guys for years, right?
Image out there, because people, you know, they're familiar with things, but there are also people who want to see what you can add and voice, and I think that's more exciting than always seeing a certain style or image done,
or the popular TV show or whatever.
You know what's funny, and I'm just gonna jump in, is when I first started out, I was absolutely horrified to put my work out there, because I did not want anybody judging or critiquing my art. Like, and I'll put it like this: I had this. Okay, so the online space can be a very scary space, especially if you're not familiar with it and you're just starting out. So I was on DeviantArt in the beginning, right?
Hello.
And I was
throwback.
What year were you on there?
This had to be early, but it had to be like 07, 08.
Oh my God.
I don't know. It was
right
a while
around the
ago.
same time.
But here's the thing, right? If it wasn't for Nay, I would have never put my art out there. I would sit here and I'd be like, I'm not posting this, because in my head, DeviantArt was a place you go to and you put artwork up and people critique it and they tell you what's wrong with it, and they don't want to see this, and and I was like, I can't take it. I don't want to do it. And this is a stereotype, but as a Virgo, I'm like a perfectionist, or at least that's how I feel. So when I want it out there, I want it to be perfect, so nobody can say, okay, this is wrong or that's wrong. And she was like, you got to get over it. Like, that's not how it works. You just put it out there. And I was like, yeah, but you know, I don't want to do that. I don't have my own style. I don't have this. And she was like, just do it. And she like literally was the battery in my back. And eventually I put stuff out there, but I was like, well, this person is doing that and this person is doing that. Nobody's gonna like my stuff. Like, I was probably the most insecure artist you could ever find. Like, it was ridiculous. And then eventually what it was is I had an obsession with drawing eyes, right? I don't know what it was. Ever since I was younger, I love drawing eyes. So every drawing, completely opposite of how they would teach you in any art school, I would just start with the eyes. Like, and just
that's how I start. First thing I draw.
Thank you. Look, let me embrace you over the Zoom. Look. I swear, like, I would do this and I'd be like, it would be like so gratifying to me. So then eventually I just build around the eyes. And then eventually I realized I love drawing faces and just busts a lot. If anybody who goes to my page, they know this. I'm obsessed with George Bus, and I'm obsessed with black and white, oddly enough. And people who go to my page can't deny that either. But what happened was I eventually noticed my style coming together when I started putting more of my experiences and thought into it. So what happened was I started to feel Black women were underrepresented, and I chose to start wanting to represent Black women in my artwork. And so that if you look, there's, or I think I deleted it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. On my IG, I used to have a bunch of blue line artwork, and a lot of it had like random fan art stuff and random stuff in it. And I was just like, I'm tired of this. And I was like, I feel like Black women don't get credit, and I'm tired of that. And so I started drawing it, and I kept doing it. I started to like love it. And then my style started to form within that. And then from that, I started incorporating Black men. And then it became a whole, I loved Afrofuturism, and it like narrowed down into a space where I finally found what I was comfortable with and what I loved doing. But I was on a comparison tour and a fear tour prior to that. And I don't know if anybody else went through that, but that is definitely what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, every time I draw a stick figure and I go to Instagram or the Will's page, I'm like, no, I'm almost dead. Practically identical.
That stick figure, though. I can't stand you. How about, matter of fact, okay, so I'm gonna tell y'all something. I have a nickname for Levada, right? She probably hates this, but I call her this all the time. I call her the God artist, right?
It's a bomb ass nickname.
It is.
I always call her that. Like, first off, props to everybody in here, because you already know I respect and love your artwork. I low key have nicknames for everybody, but we'll talk about those later. But Micah's is a little freaky, so I'm gonna leave that alone, because Micah has central art stuff. We're gonna leave that alone. But everybody has really, really dope art style. And I stumbled across Levada's art, and I think she was doing like cards for what it was like it's not a game. You might have to, it was like Odyssey or something like that. They look like those really detailed concept art character cards, and whereas it's like a magician or a mage or something like that. And she was doing like super detailed artwork, and I was like, who is this? And I was like from afar admiring her work for super long. And I was like, I don't know what's going on with her life, but yeah, I got to reach out to her because this artwork is fire. So I started calling her the God artist. So I don't know if she ever went through any art struggle in terms of comparison, because as far as I'm concerned, she was fired from jump. Just like Brittany, when I saw her stuff, was fired from jump. Rachel was fired from jump. Michael was fired from jump. Rennie was fired from jump. Like, I don't see the struggle that I had in anybody else. So a lot of the times I feel like I was isolated. Like, I'm the only person who is going through this. Like, everybody else is just like instantly successful in their art.
That's hilarious.
It is.
That's full blown hilarious. Like the fact that there is a thing called struggling artists. You know what I mean? Like tortured artists. That's a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's mad people. I'm obviously not one of them, but there's a whole bunch of tortured artists. You know what I'm saying? I was fucking whatever. Levada, you look surprised when Will just dropped the whole Dezombly. Like, did you have any idea he was admiring you from afar? Like,
no.
Yeah, her art is fire.
He was doing it. He was like not until he finally said something to me, like if I wanted to be a part of the Black Alchemy, and I didn't realize that he was following me before that.
Awesome.
I didn't know that, Will. You didn't tell me this story.
Right so she's just now hearing that for the first time right now. Ladies and gentlemen, and in betweens, y'all are hearing history.
Oh my God.
Listen, let me tell you something. Each one of y'all, before I reached out to you, I definitely, because, okay, so here's the thing, right? With art, one of my things is knowing whether or not people are going to be consistent with what they do. So I always pay attention, and each one of you were consistent. Everything that you did, like even Rennie, he might say he's not doing what it is that he specifically would want to do full time, full out by itself, but he has a level of consistency that is undeniable. Like I see it all the time. Same thing with Brittany, Levada, Rachel, Micah, all of y'all consistent. Like, so before I even reached out to any of you, I had already been looking at your work for at least a couple of months. Like, that's just how I am. So yeah, stalker time. It happens.
It's interesting for me. I'm gonna jump. It's interesting for me because for me, that has not been my experience of my own work. And what I mean specifically is I feel like when I go to like Will's page in particular, you know what I mean? But like Rachel, but actually all y'all except Rennie, because you're the only one whose work I'm not largely familiar with. If I go to your page, to me, there is a style. To me, there is like, that's her work, that's his work, that, you know what I mean? For me, I don't feel that way about my work. I've had other people tell me that. But like for me, I have like, and hold on, just listen to what I'm saying. Okay. I love my work. Don't get it twisted, okay? There is zero, I am not the one who's like, oh, I never like my fuck all that. I don't go through that. But what I have, what I have felt is I feel like I got like 6 different styles. I feel like when I go to other people's pages, it's like, you know what I mean? And you can see, you can pick any one of their works and be like, that's their work. Whereas with me, I feel like, you know, I go, you know, everywhere. And up until, you know, very recently, it's been my thing where I'm paying attention. I'm reading some of the processes that other artists have been through, some of the quote unquote masters and whatever, and people who are contemporary who I'm just like digging and looking at the captions for, you know, like what they're, you know, even when Brittany was live, she was doing her little live for a second, you know what I mean, working on some of the joints, and she's like, I just figured I'm just jump in, but just listening to her process in a way, like what she's playing with in style and what she's pushing versus not, like I have not felt like any of it is consistent along certain lines because I try something, I get it, I feel good at it, and I move on to something else. You know what I mean? Like that's just how my process has been. So recently I've been like, I want to actually have a style. I want to do a thing where people go, that looks like that, looks like that, looks like that, which is a weird aspiration.
I gotta cut you off. Fucking weird. I gotta cut you off real quick. Real quick. So you definitely have a style. I don't know where this is coming from. You definitely have a style. And if I were to describe your style, right? And even from a conceptual standpoint, your style to me is like, think of how a plant grows and then leaves grow from that plant, or even a tree, tree branches to leaves, or branches to other branches. You have an art style where your art grows into other art. Like even if you look at the piece behind you, it looks like pieces come from the art that it's almost like you have a trunk and then you have pieces growing out of it. That's how I see your art style. When I first saw your art style, one of your pieces were several faces that looked like they were in a circle, almost like a shell, and they were going around. Like, and all of your pieces spoke to me in that way. So I always see pieces growing out of other pieces, like it's a multi-layered art style. So that's what I see when I look at your work. So don't you dare speak blasphemy on this Zoom at all. Don't even try it.
But first off, thank you. Second off, that fits, that resonates. I like the way that sounds a lot. Thank you very much. That's the first time anybody's ever described it to me that way. That feels really, really good. One of the pieces of feedback I got, I went to a gallery one time. I was in a comic book Comic-Con. Thank you, Davin, by the way, in the chat. That's a beautiful description. Holy crap.
Emotion
I was in a Comic-Con. Like, come on, that's crazy. That's like one of the sickest things anybody's ever said about me. Thank you, Davin. I was at a Comic-Con and this woman comes up and she looks at these pieces. She's like, do you have any originals? And I was like, nah, not really. My originals are back home. You know, I kind of, she's like, I think your originals would look really good in the gallery. And I was like, thank you so much. She's like, I think your originals would look really good in a gallery. And I was like, okay, I heard you. And she was just like, I own a gallery. And I was like, oh, I'm stupid. I'm sorry. Right? Like, so.
My bad. My bad.
And so she was like, here's my card. Come visit my gallery, whatever. And so I came to the gallery and I had my portfolio book or whatever the fuck. And And I showed it to her, and her feedback was the same feedback that I had gotten from Blizzard Entertainment when I went to their table when I was at the Comic-Con, which was, you have so many different ideas, and people want to know that they can trust any one of these ideas multiple times. Like, they want to see iterations, right? And she was like, my viewers, when people go to galleries, they want to see a journey. And even if you change, it needs to be like consistent. So if you create a body of work, you know, like 6 to 8, 10 pieces that look like they're from the same body, that's what I'm looking for. And that was the thing I didn't have, right? I mean, that's the thing I still don't really. Anyway, so the point is, that's what's been generating that. That's what's driving that, is the fact that there's been multiple feedbacks from spots that I was kind of, you know, wanting to be, you know, because Blizzard Entertainment with their like D&D cards and their cards, like I've always wanted to illustrate one of them cards. Oh my God. Anyway, so it's just one of those one of them things where I was like, oh, and for me, I'd love to see some of what y'all have in terms of just 10 pieces that look like they're all from the same set. That hasn't been my thing. You know what I mean? So recently that's where that's coming from. So don't, you know, it's not from any lack of love for my work, anything. It's just like, I want to see it look like it's a continuum. I want to see like a chunk of pieces that all look like, boom, that's all this thing. So I started different series or whatever, and I'm working on them now. But that's where that was coming from. Because I've been all over from jump. Like I'm a volcano. I can't on my show. It's just
because right now I'm also like seeing in my own work that I was like, I don't feel like I have a style, but it's like other people can see it, but I can't.
Here we go again.
Oh my God, here we go.
So right now it's like,
she has 2 oil pieces behind her.
I know. How about you turn around? Like, right?
Seriously.
So yeah, so like right now I've been doing like a lot of sketches and everything, and so I'm like, I need to find like that style that, you know, I can be comfortable with. But I'm like, I don't want to stick to one thing, but I'm like, okay, do it this one time and see if it works. So that's why I'm trying to prep a lot of sketches to see if I can, you know, produce a body of work that I'm happy with, and see if people can pinpoint like, that's you and that's your style, or that's what you're doing now, and I could be happy, like, yes, I found it and I'm happy now. So I'm trying so hard to do that. So Micah, I feel you.
I think you all have and are doing amazing in terms of your individual styles. Like, and I think one of the things I did when I reached out to everybody was I wanted to make sure that not any one person who I picked had the same exact style. If you look at your individual artwork, you're all skilled, but differently. Like, everybody's work can be identified. Like, if we were to take each one of our pieces all the way down to Rennie and put them next to each other, they would all look different, but they would all still look like they were professionally done. If you understand what I'm saying. Like, so it's good to have that variety, and everybody in here has a different style. Like, and I, again, love each one of your styles. I'm gonna actually jump over to the because we're almost at the end of this. We got like
8 minutes.
Yeah, and
8
I'm
minutes.
very
8 minutes
on my time schedule thing. So
yeah,
I'm cutting it at the 8 mark. So when we create, I know as artists, and you could just give a brief answer. As artists, we tend to go with the flow or feel, you know, inspired. So this is going to be a 2-part thing. So number 1, do you utilize a schedule when you're creating? And 2, how do you stay motivated?
I'll start.
Go ahead, jump in.
I am faithful to a schedule. I have to have a schedule, because if I don't, I feel like while I'm working on a piece, I will nitpick forever, edit, and keep going until I feel like I'm happy with it. But sticking to a schedule is like, it will keep my mind going forward and not being stagnant. And like, I don't know, let me grab this real quick. Like, I don't know if you guys can see that. Like here, I have written out a schedule and like due dates and things like that. And I stick to it faithfully, because if I don't, I would just kind of lose myself. And so I think it's really something that I think we should all kind of equip in our arsenal, is a schedule or a calendar to kind of just stay focused.
And then the second part of that question was, how do you stay motivated?
And how do I stay motivated? I love art so much. So it's not really hard to, stay motivated. Like, I'm always, wanting to do the next thing. Like, that's what I'm looking for, the next best thing. And I love to paint, so love to play with colors.
There you go.
Yeah.
So who wants to tag in?
I'll go. Shoot, I keep zoning out. I'm sorry, y'all. What was the question? I'm sorry. I just went all the way blank. I'm sorry. I was ready. I did. I was
it's
done.
Basically like, do you keep a schedule?
Okay. Yes. Right.
And whether or not and what keeps you motivated?
Right. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. So I just got into doing schedules. Right. When it comes to commissions, like, I'm very strict about my time dealing with other people's time. But when it comes to whatever I'm working on, I just started to do this, and it has, boosted me tremendously. It used to be I would just, like, whenever I felt like creating, or whenever I had like a sliver of time, that's when I would do it. Now I go, like, there's a certain time at night when I know my son's in bed. I don't have to deal with, like, homeschool. I don't have to deal with cleaning, whatever. That's when I create. As far as staying motivated, I'm a lot like Rachel. Like, I'm always motivated. But one of the things, because I do have droughts, right? So I have moments where I feel a little stuck and stagnant. I look at you guys' artwork, or like my favorite artists. I watch videos of people creating, and that always triggers something in me to like, okay, let's do it. so yeah, schedule. I used to be very organic in how I work, but that wasn't working for me, right? I needed to discipline myself, and this year has been the year for me to do it, because I got the time, right? So it's like, let's be very purposeful in this, and it has helped big time.
Perfect. Who wants to jump in next?
I mean,
I'll tell.
Oh, dang.
Go ahead.
Nah, go ahead. Just because Laveda hella shy with hers. Go ahead, girl.
Right. Here we go.
Mine is basically the same. I work with schedules. I feel comfortable with schedules, so I've never really tried to do it more organically. But so it is schedules, and then for inspiration, when I do experience where I'm not like feeling to do, like, where I literally have to kind of motivate myself to get behind the computer, is usually looking at other people's work that I love. So, because that's like, it's the love of the art, and then you're seeing someone else's art that you just love, and it just blooms in you, and you're just like, oh, I want to do this too. So yeah.
So Micah, since you.
Nah, Rennie was next. Rennie was next.
Yeah.
So my life revolves around the calendar. Everything goes on the calendar. And I think I heard my wife snicker from our first floor. I said that because she was probably like, whatever. But I calendar everything, and I whiteboard everything. Like, there's a whiteboard next to me.
Oh wow.
Literally. Of stuff that I need to get done. I stay motivated because my brain doesn't stop. So I could quite literally forget something, and then 5 minutes later be in a whole new project. There's no lack of motivation here. It's more like, do I really feel like doing this? Do I have enough gummy bears to get me through?
I got gummy bears, though. Okay, so Gummy Bear Man. Let's see who else has an answer for us. We got Mike.
We only got two. It's you and me.
Oh, okay. So no, I'll go first. We'll leave the last answer with you. Okay, so for me, I think the thing is, I'm my motivation, like everybody else, comes from me seeing other people's work and seeing something. I'm like, oh, that's dope. I like how they did that. And then I'll be like, creative juice is flowing. But I think my biggest motivation is music. A lot of the times I will literally put headphones on and I will create based on what I hear. Music speaks, and it's mainly because I used to dance. So that drive, that beat in my head, that rhythm ends up coming through with whatever work I'm creating or whatever emotion I'm feeling at the time. So I try and channel whatever that emotion is into the artwork that I'm creating. So that's how I stay motivated. And then I swear I have ADD because I cannot stay on one project for too long. Like I have to bounce around to so many things to keep me from getting bored with what it is that I'm working on. But having those options allows me to stay motivated. And I try to stay as calendarly, schedulely organized as possible. But there are times I'll even forget I have a calendar.
No.
And I'll be like, I'm working on something. And I'm like, what was it? And then I'll go and I'm like, oh, thank goodness I remember to look at this, because if I didn't, but luckily for me, I work well under pressure. So if it ever comes to a point where it's like time crunch, I'm like, boom, and I'll just like be able to, and without it being bad quality, I'll be able to knock something out. So that's how it works for me. So I'm gonna pass it to Sir Micah and see what he has to say.
Yeah. First of all, I know he's hella good with the time. So after my answer, we probably gonna be wrapping the hell up. So I just want to say I'm really, really grateful to be here and thank y'all and everybody who showed up. And this is like, yo. In terms of the motivation piece, I'm like several of y'all. There's no such thing. Like, it's impossible to not be I don't even know what the fuck that means. So for me, I consider myself an inspiration engine. I've created myself as an inspiration engine. What I mean by that is I feel like we have been taught to look outside ourselves for inspiration, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I do this thing called inspiration mining, where I will zone into something I done did and get inspiration. The same inspiration I get from somebody else, I can get from myself any day of the week. And so the way that I've got it work, like I'm resonating with what Rennie said when he was like, there's no lack of motivation. Because for me, I have lists of lists. I have lists of my lists have lists, you know what I'm saying, of ideas and projects that I have to do, to the point where I had to prioritize them in terms of what's going to get done during this lifetime. That's how many fucking ideas I have. You know what I'm saying? What's going to actually get done during this lifetime, and what's going to have to hold up. I see you next lifetime. What's going to have to just, not necessarily make it through, because I got epics. I have epics. It's crazy. So that's the motivation piece. And then scheduling is everything. Oh my God. And Rachel, you writing stuff down, and if that works for you, do it. And I will recommend an app called Trello, like hello with a T. Trello, Trello. It's amazeballs, because you can put a whole bunch of different projects. You can you can put cards within projects. You can put prompts with them. Like I live off Trello. That shit is freaking banging. And just, I think that it's impossible to not do without scheduling, because the kid, and then trying to be a husband. I'm unmarried. I call myself an unmarried husband because that's my unmarried wife, because we've been at 13 years, but we ain't married. It's okay. So there's that piece, and then just trying to figure out, not even trying, but working out, doing all the different realms, because art is one realm. You know what I'm saying? For me, I'm freaking, I'm all over the place. So just making sure that I'm manifesting in each one of these realms to the level that I want to be. I have to schedule it, otherwise it'll be gone. You know what I mean? And it's crazy too, because like Will was saying, it'll be stuff I want to do. Like, oh, I can't wait to do it. Wait, what was the thing that I couldn't wait to, you know what I mean? Because I got so many things that I want to do, so much. And I've gotten into a point where I don't take on a project if I'm not excited about it. I don't take on a client if I'm not excited about them. Like I'm done, you know what I mean? So that's where the turning away from, you know what I mean? Like that's where I'm starting to be like, if you're wanting boring, I'm not going to do it. I do different. I do off the whatever. And if that's what you're coming for, awesome, let's build. And if not, nope. And simultaneously, the other piece is the whole, if you're not willing to pay whatever it is I'm charging, right? Because that's another piece. And that's a piece we didn't touch on in this one. So maybe we're gonna have another talk, right?
We're definitely gonna have another one. If you're available and down, like I'll be reaching out to certain people. Making sure, because we can always add more people to the conversation. But we're about to close out, and thank you, each one of y'all, for participating. Rennie, Brittany, Laveda, Micah, Rachel, you're amazing. I'm so happy you could participate. And before we go, I want you to go in order. I'm going to call you out, and then I want you to just say your name and tell people where they can find you. And then I want you to, if you can, type it in the chat. So that way it's in the chat for people who want to grab it. So we're going to start with Rennie. If you can, let everybody know your name, unmute yourself, and make sure you put it in the chat where they can find you as well. And you could tell them as well.
My name is Brittany Lewis, guys. You can find me on Instagram at create.festival. That's for all the art and the festival events. At the Collective V, if you just want to see my photography. At the Real DJ Scoop, if you just want a glimpse into the boringness of my life. My website is renoirlewis.com, although new site coming soon. And I do have a Society 6 store open, but I'll drop the link in the chat. It's society6.com/create_festival or etsy.com/shop/create.
Hey, and Brittany?
Yep, my name is Brittany Lewis. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all over the place under at B Lewis Arts. And you can visit my website at blewisarts.com, and that's BLEWISARTS.com.
Perfect. And Laveda?
My name is Laveda O'Neill. You can find me at Leonel Art. That's with Twitter or Instagram. And you can also go to my website. It's leonelart.com.
Awesome. Rachel?
My name is Rachel Scotland. You can find me on IG at rs.arts. And my website or my shop is rsarts.storenv.com.
Perfect. Micah?
Micah Blacklight. You can find me at I-am-catalyst, catalyst.com/hub. That's got a whole bunch of links to all my everythings. But social media is always just Micah Blacklight, MICAHBLACKLIGHT. I make it super easy to find me.
Perfect. And I am Will Focus. You can find me at The One Will Focus, all spelled out on all social media, or theonewillfocus.com. And I want to give a special shout out because we're presenting this Zoom today from Black Alchemy. Black Alchemy is a Black artist collective, and 5 of us here are part of that collective. So Brittany, Laveda, Rachel, Micah, myself, we're all a part of that collective. We are also looking to hopefully do some work with Rennie in the future, which is, something that we're going to discuss. And it's also sponsored by Our Black Web, which is a not-for-profit that focuses in giving exposure and promotion for small businesses. So I want to thank everybody for coming out today. What we're going to do is we're going to keep you posted. If there's a segment that you're interested in, we have one for writers that's going to be coming up, one for photographers and videographers that's going to be coming up. So if you're also interested in that, you can hit the email. You can either email me directly, theonewillfocus.com, or you can email info@ourblackweb.com, and then we'll get back to you in regards to that. So we are going to have a continuation of this because what Michael was saying before that is definitely something that we're going to want to touch on. So I hope everybody had a fun time. Thank you guys again for joining. And I hope you all have a great and pleasant evening.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, y'all.
Thank you for
Thanks so
coming.
much for showing up. Man.
Peace out, y'all.
Be well, be easy.